He was involved with NFL digital media, both NFL Films, NFL Network. We're going to talk about his background. President of RTN. How many of you are involved in RTN here?
Woo. Yeah, that's right.
All right, there you go. Executive producer of RTN Sports. Who was the executive producer of RTN Sports this year? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. And intern to NFL Films. That's a great story that I will share with everybody. We'll talk about that. And at PHL 17. We're talking about your interview with NFL Films.
Oh, yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, okay. All right. So have a seat. Have a seat.
Right.
We're going to take this off. There we go. So first of all, what's it like to be back on campus? When was the last time you were back on campus?
Oh, yeah. The last time I was here was right before COVID. So I graduated in the COVID year, so I technically ended in April instead of end of March instead of the year. So I actually think probably about it was March of 2020.
Yeah,
was the last time I was here. So,
wow.
It's about 4.
I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad to be back. It's nice.
Good to have you back.
Absolutely.
Did you know how to get to King Auditorium? Were you
100%.
Okay? Yeah, okay. Just
right there.
Sure. Yeah.
Right down 76, right there to 55. I still have the commuter passes on my car. We're locked and loaded. We're ready to go.
Ready to go.
They're like 2017 passes, but like they'll fly.
So when we started this program, as you know, John Giannini was the founding director. Dr. Steiner was here in the beginning year. In 2018, you were a student here, and you heard about the sports communication media program, but you were already pretty far along as an RTF major. So what was your initial thought when you heard that we were going to start a sports communication media program?
I was really excited about it. I was interested. I really got excited once I started working with John and Emil and creating a lot of those promotional materials for that, which is cool. I actually remember the day I was sitting in the lab right next to the TV studio, and I just walked in, and Casey Holcomb, he's around. I thought he was going to just pop up at one point, but he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, there's this new program, and they need a promotional video. Like, hey, we have these clips? Could you edit it?" And I remember that day, and I was going through all the footage and everything. I thought like, "Oh wow, like yeah, this is a really cool opportunity." Yeah. And at the time, I didn't know how big it was going to become. In the last couple of years, I've kind of seen it grow, which is really cool. I was shocked because it started out the concentration, and I kind of thought it was just going to be something that you could add on to RTF, and it was like, oh, you take a couple extra sports, related classes. That's really great. I didn't know it was going to be as huge until I was a senior. That was about like after the first year of it fully. I knew I was like, wow, this is going to be a really amazing opportunity for a lot of students.
So now we have more than 400 in the program.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And Pizza with the Pros back in your day.
Yeah.
We were in the art gallery, and we put chairs around, and we'd have about 20 people. We have anywhere from 50 to 130 now.
It's amazing.
Pizza with the Pros. So
That's
as you
right.
can see, and it's not a class, they're here, but they're here to hear your story.
Wow.
So why did you first of all come to Rowan?
Ooh, well, I came to the real answer is I didn't want to pay out-of-state tuition. I got accepted to 2 schools, Temple and Rowan, for the media program. I didn't want to pay out-of-state tuition to go to Temple, so I decided on Rowan. I did want to commute. I didn't want to live away at first, so that combo kind of allowed me. Rowan was a good choice. It was close to home. Allowed me to come in and start here, which is really exciting because I had just found the love for it in my junior year of high school.
Okay. And then when you got here, you got involved.
Yeah, pretty quickly. I remember I jumped in. I just wanted to join a few things and just meet new people and everything. I'm a people person, so I like to go out and talk to people and do things and try new experiences. And I think college is all about the connections you make and all the people you meet, whether that's socially, professionally. And I remember I came into an RTM meeting. It was just on the bulletin board. It was in the packet of stuff you got when you join as an RTF. And I came to one meeting, and then I went on one shoot, and I just fell in love with it immediately. I wanted to just be a video editor. That was it. Until I started actually going to the Rowan sports events, and I was able to do camera, and I was able to do graphics and technical directing and all that. And I just fell kind of in love with the entire media broadcast. And, I started there and immediately fell in love with that. And I started very quickly at the same time with the radio station. And I was with Rowan Radio for 4 years. And I was with RTN for all 4 years. And once I started, I couldn't stop, and it was 4 of the greatest years I could have had.
That's great to hear. So I'm going to let them get their questions. Well, my last question for now is, you go for NFL Films for an internship.
Uh-huh.
What was your knowledge of football when they asked you?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely no. I lied in there. They were like, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your expertise on NFL history? And I was like 3. That was my answer out of 10. That was bad. I knew 3 NFL players. That's it. I knew 3. They were all quarterbacks. I could name you running back, wide receiver, and quarterback as positions in the NFL. I knew Nick Foles and Carson Wentz because they were Eagles quarterbacks at the time. And I knew Ben Roethlisberger because my cousin had a fat head of him growing up in his room. And I knew Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady. And that was it. And I walked in there, and I remember they told me specifically, they said, that might be a problem. And I was like, yeah, sure it is. It is, but I was like, look, I'll work really hard. I was like, if I don't get something, I'll figure it out. I'll find it out. And I'll be the hardest worker in the class. I'll do whatever it needs to do, and I'll go above and beyond, and I'll be one of the best interns you've ever had. And they somehow gave it to me. I have no idea why. I actually messed up the first interview and then the second interview, timed out on all my questions, didn't know anything about the NFL, and then ended up getting this, position, which I was pretty excited by, because it was kind of the cream of the crop. I wasn't a mainstream sports guy. Until I got to college and I started following sports. So I didn't really start following sports. I think really it was 2017 when I started to really watch basketball, football, baseball, all those other sports. I wasn't like that growing up. So I just looked at that internship, and it was like, that was the one everybody wanted. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm definitely going to go for it. And then I ended up getting it. And then down my first day there, and it was like, you learn so much right from the get. You learn you have to be a go-getter and be self-sufficient, because the first night I was in there and I was getting an assignment, and they were like, hey, could you grab us some footage of this of Mike Tomlin? And without thinking, I asked, who's Mike Tomlin? And I had no idea. Now, it was funny. The producer looked exactly like Mike Tomlin, which was funnier. His name's Quab, great guy, great producer over there. And he was like, oh, Mike Tomlin. And he's like, the head coach of the Steelers. And I was like, oh, that's right. For sure, brain fart. Sorry about that, man. After that, I Google up every time. And then slowly over that summer, I learned the NFL and positions and coaches and players. And it worked out, because here I am for some reason.
And they hired you full time.
And then I got hired on a permanent basis, actually, in the LA office, which was funny. So I did the internship in the summer. I came back for my senior year. That was when I was the co-executive sports producer. Really exciting. I was really, hell-bent on coming back and having a really great last year, soaking up as much as I possibly could. And then, COVID hit. I had a few opportunities. I had a few opportunities with the Eagles. I had a few opportunities with the WWE, which, you were very helpful with as well. And then it all kind of came crashing down on one day. And I remember I had accepted the job with the Eagles I'll never forget the day. I accepted the job on March 12th, 2020. March 14th, 2020 was the COVID game when Rudy Gobert touched all the mics. And that was for me, that was the day COVID started. And then it was the next day they were just like, hey, you don't have it anymore. It's over. And then, I just kind of wrapped up the school year, and I was working a minimum wage job at a liquor store. It sucked. It was horrible. But I always had the fire and the passion to still do it. So I was still kind of working my way. Just kept applying to jobs. And then finally, one day I applied to an NFL job at NFL Media in Los Angeles, and they got back to me, and they said, hey, we talked to the folks at Films, and they spoke very highly of you, and we'd love for you to join our growing NFL digital media team, which at that time was only 1 year old. And so I joined in there with a bunch of other fresh out of college students. The average age of our team was 25. And we were producing all of the original content for the NFL's free ad-supported TV channel, which is a fast channel, which you see on Tubi and Pluto and all that. But we were the team directing, TDing, editing, audio, all that stuff. And then so I kind of launched in that. I worked remotely for 1 year. And then after that, they're like, well, if it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't have given you the job. They were only going to look in the LA area. And then they expanded once COVID happened. And then they're like, well, you can have the job as long as you're going to move out. And then I was like, wow, well, here's the adventure. I was like, here's the thing you can, do. So go and do it. And then I went out and did it and was out there for 3 years, 3 amazing years, and 4 amazing seasons. And was just able to finally find my way back here and, now at Penn.
Okay. All right. So there's a little bit of background about Sean. It's a fascinating story. I love the story about NFL Films. One, because of your honesty.
Yeah,
I think that, and then you couldn't.
I couldn't skate around that one.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin. Wow,
that was rough. It was rough. It was rough. I know who he is now.
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot about Mike Tomlin.
You pretty good with the NFL now?
Yeah. Like current, like current for sure. Like you can't ask me a question about who was like the MVP in 1989. I'm not gonna get that. I'm not gonna get anything like pre 2015, but in the last like 3 or 4 years, extensively players, coaches, positions. Yeah, I can get into it pretty deeply now. But there's still some things about the game that I don't know the game that much. So I don't know the X's and O's and all that stuff, or like don't ask me to play Madden. Like I'm gonna suck. Like I don't know what don't get me like this. I'm gonna hit screen pass every time. Because I don't know. So, but it's a good thing of like, hey, like just because you're not immediately an expert on the subject doesn't mean you can't do it in a certain way or you can't do it in a media aspect. I just knew I was a good broadcast production person. I knew that I was a good producer director. I knew I was a great editor. And the job was the editor for Good Morning Football. So I was an intern for the editor there. We would work nights. So all the other interns worked during the day, and I would come in at 4:30 and work till 1. And so we would just edit away all the clips and highlights and little fun music videos for the show the next day. And so I knew I was a good video editor, and I knew I was a good storyteller. And I was like, I'll learn the NFL. I was like, that's the easy part. This isn't. So I just said that, and then they gave it to me. And it was really competitive. There was a lot of people there. I was one of 2 people who were from the area. Everybody else had come from all over the country for that internship. And so it was a really cool experience, and it set me up for everything that I started going down in the future.
Okay. All right. Who wants to go first? Go ahead. Julian.
Well, first one. Julian. I already know what the question is too.
Julian.
You told me yesterday.
Go ahead. So,
Julian works for me.
Go ahead, Julian.
So you obviously work with a lot of freelancers.
Absolutely. Don't ask.
How hard is it
to
keep up a consistent basis of quality when the same people aren't available on a super consistent basis?
It's just having it's a good question. It's having a good set of rules and a good set of guidelines. At Penn we employ a lot of freelancers, and I like to employ a lot of freelancers from places that I know. Rowan's one of those places. So if we ever have openings, I always go and I source Rowan students because they're very hardworking, they're very driven. It is really hard, and there's I would love to have the same 10 people every single time, because then you're going to get in such a gel and such a groove, and it's going to be amazing. But when you just have to adapt and overcome, you just have to have a good set of rules and a good set of things that you tell your crew when you get there, and a good crew, a good production person will know how to adapt to any situation. And so if you go in there and you say, hey, this is the protocol of setting up your camera, this is the protocol of what we do during the games. We go over assignments every game when we're at Penn. For those who've been there, like Julian and George, like they know their assignments already. I don't have to do that anymore because I've been working with them so much. But we have a clear set of guidelines of documentation and sheets, exactly what me and my assistant, who we split duties on, production of, to go down and say, hey, these are your assignments, which you do as a camera operator. Here are the few things that we need you to be aware of during the broadcast, workflow things, and we'll have a successful broadcast. But as always, you never know. It's hard. There's some days where you just haven't worked with someone, and it doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean they're bad. It just means you haven't worked together. And so there's going to be a lot of miscommunication, and you just work as best as you can to make it as the product as best as possible.
We should add that Andrew Jersky is your assistant, who's
Yeah.
also a Rowan grad, a sports cam grad.
Yes, yeah. Shout out to Andrew, who really happy. He was like, "Man, I saw you going to Pizza with the Pros." He's like, "That's great." And I was like, oh, "Thanks, Andrew." Andrew's a good guy. Andrew's good. We like to keep it real internal. Andrew and I did go here. I remember when Andrew first started. He joined RTN when I was the president at the time, my junior year, and was another one of like those really hard workers. Was another one of those reliable guys that you could just really just go to at any moment. He's one of the people that you just didn't have to worry about. And there's a lot of things to worry about in production. And so, when you can kind of become someone who can get their assignment, can get their job, and be as efficient as possible, kind of think on your feet. Those are kind of the best people, and Andrew's one of those guys. So, and we are also friends. So it's a really good relationship with us because I knew him before. So we just kind of picked up right where we started. And so it makes my job way easier each day.
Good for you. All right, next up. But
What separated you from all the other interns that wanted that job?
Well, the interns that wanted the job, where exactly at Penn?
Yeah.
no, interns
or-
Penn or NFL Films?
Penn or-
NFL films.
NFL
Oh,
Films.
okay. When I was going for the internship
Yeah,
at Films, what stood out? I mean, I was just dedicated. Like I was just super eager and dedicated and confident. And there's like confidence is a really important aspect of every part of your life, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally and socially. And I think what set me apart is I cared. I cared a lot. I think I care way too much. I'm kind of sick. But I do. I love this. I live for this. I was very grateful to find my passion early. There's not a day that goes by that I don't want to do this. There's not a moment that goes by that I'm not thinking about some aspect of it, which I tried to not. I tried to pull myself away, but from time to time. But no, I think what stood out was I was really good at my job. And I worked really hard to be really good at my job. And, there's a difference between, being humble and being cocky. And some people are cocky and then some people are just humble. I knew, it's like, you put your head down, you work really hard. I knew going in that, they were going to beat me in the NFL knowledge. And they did. There was a lot of moments in there where they were just like spatting out like 2011 Colts highlights. And I was just like, yeah, like they play where? Like I didn't know. But what I knew was that I was better at production. I knew I was better at broadcasting. And everybody has their own niche. I'm not going to, it's not a comparing thing. There's a lot of really talented people in that intern class. I think what kind of set me apart was the boldness of being different than everybody else. I think it kind of helped me a little bit that I didn't know that much about football, because a lot of the people that go off for internships like that are just kind of football guys, and it's cool and it's football. And I was never like that. I kind of just loved the production of it. I fell in love with football and the sport while I was there. I didn't go in for that. So I think I was just really dedicated. I think what set me apart was that I cared about the production aspect more than anything. And I was obsessed with doing the greatest job possible.
All right, right there. Yep, Seth.
So when you were talking about how during COVID you were applying jobs.
Yeah.
What can you say that kept you going during that? Because that can be really hard for anybody,
Yeah.
especially when COVID happened and stuff like that. And we all go through some really human things. I'm sure everybody will be presented a situation like that. But what kept you going, and what can you tell the students to also get through a situation like that?
I mean, it's just, it made me happy. That's all I can say. Doing this stuff makes me really happy. A quote that I'll never forget. It's one of my favorite quotes that came from one of my managers at the NFL. And it's an unfortunate just aspect of the world. It's realism. I didn't want to leave there, but I've been working there for 4 seasons, and I was permanent. I was part-time. I worked full time there. I was permanent, but I worked a 30-hour week, and there was no way I was going to get a promotion. There was no way I was going to get a full-time job. I was about to be 26 years old, and I was about to have no health benefits. And I wanted to stay there. They didn't want to. They refused to kind of give me any sort of promotion, and I was thinking about just staying and toughing it out. Maybe one day it would turn around for me. And I had an assistant manager who told me, and this started, and I thought about this after he said it, and it kind of applied to every aspect of my life, even leading up to that. And he's like, you have to balance two things in life, and that's happiness and ambition. And you can choose to be ambitious one day and not to be ambitious the next day. That's okay. But you can never take a day off happiness. And he said that, and that like sank into me. And then that's what made me leave that job, because I wasn't happy anymore. And so I think what got me through COVID, after I think about that, was I loved it. That's all I ever wanted to do. I went to school for it. I spent every waking moment, here on a broadcast. That's all I ever wanted to do. Every Friday, Saturday night, we'd go with the hockey team. We go do a football game, baseball, any sport that we were able to put our hands on, any event. I just loved it. It's all I wanted to do. I met all my friends through it. I lived it every day. And so I think what kept me going was that it made me happy. And I wasn't going to spend the day not being happy. And so I just kept plugging away until, I was grateful to get an opportunity over there.
Explain to them what you do now at the University of Pennsylvania.
So there's a lot of hats. At the University of Pennsylvania, I am the director of broadcasting and production. So I handle and oversee all the live sports production for Penn, which streams on ESPN Plus. All the Ivy League universities have a contract with ESPN where we stream and broadcast all of their sporting events. Andrew and I manage all of the sports, which are roughly we manage about 10 sports a year, 10 to 12 sports a year with a lot of overlap. We handle all of the crewing, all of the equipment, all of the production, all of the design, all of the finances, all of everything. Everything is ran through the two of us. We are the director, the producer, the audio operator, the technical director on every single shoot, which is why I rely very heavily on my freelancers. Because for those who have worked for me know it's a real village out there, because it's a part of production where we are understaffed and we are under-resourced. We make the best of what we do, and that's I think that's just collegiate sports in general. It's a really interesting world over there, but we handle everything top down from production. If we want a piece of equipment, we buy it. If we want to put it in our system, we have to design it. I kind of do two jobs there. I live direct and produce all of the games, but I'm also was brought on to connect every single sports venue back to one centralized control room. So in addition to being a live director, I also have to be an engineer and a network technician and everything kind of under the sun. And so Andrew and I split kind of duties where we're, his role as assistant director, but we are really co-directors as someone who we both manage productions. And so, yeah, every single thing that you can think of that goes into a sports production, we do. I do. That is my job. And I oversee all of it, from all the content to all the people that we employ on it.
How many of you here who know about Julian, how many of you here have worked with Sean? Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone else in the back? Okay, so 4. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
no, Josh has.
Recently, Josh?
In the spring. You did a baseball game, right? Yeah. Oh, that's right. What a day. Yeah.
Just, we have 2 alums, Josh and Jade are back there. So
yeah, we'll give it up, guys. Give it up for the great alums. 2 of my close personal friends, love them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right, next question. Over here.
So as somebody who's graduating this spring,
Mhm.
what advice can you give to them as somebody like fresh out of school, looking to pick up a job in like this industry, or what advice can you give to someone who's applying to like a bunch of different companies, just being fresh out of school, and what advice can you give?
I mean, take every opportunity that you possibly can, even if it isn't your end goal. I would say it's really important to kind of just, if you have a goal in mind, you take what job, that's out there, and you kind of build up to that. I think you take, you evaluate your options and you work up to it. If you're really passionate about it, you come in with a hunger, you're young, you don't have the responsibilities of an adult yet. That's kind of the same thing when you're in 20s. I'm still kind of living it myself, but you're fresh out of college, you don't have a family, you don't have all these responsibilities, and you don't have a mortgage, and you don't have all of these things yet. So it's really the time, I think, just find exactly what you really want to do. Find the place that can help you get there and work really hard. I think, and don't look at any opportunity as a bad opportunity. I learned a lot of things from places that I didn't think I would ever learn great things from, and all that stuff still helps me today. So I think like coming out of school and you're looking at a lot of stuff, I think just focusing on you too. I know it's a pretty hard industry when it comes to comparison. We're not all at the same level. It's one of those industries, especially in production and sports media, everybody's at different levels. Everybody's doing different things. And so I say fresh out, I think there's a fear, and there was a fear with me too. And I think it's with everybody of, am I going to get a good job? Is this all going to be, I went to school for this. Is it going to work out? And I think that scares a lot of people, and they don't want to make the wrong decision. But I think it's just keep making decisions, keep failing. This is your time to fail. I'm telling you right now. Like when you're in school, fresh out of school, it is your time to fail. You're in your 20s. You should do it. It's my number one thing to do. I do it all the time. It's great because when you fail, you learn. And you just keep learning and learning, and eventually you're going to stop failing. And, I think fresh out of school, you just take what opportunity you can get. And even if it doesn't work out, there's always going to be another one. And there's going to be another one. So I think it's a combination of being really hungry and being really willing to fail, because it's going to happen. You can't go through your entire life with being perfect. So I think keep your head down and be humble and just work really hard for what you want.
All right, Sean, what do you got?
So you said you would be very open to other opportunities. So, but do you think college atmospheres are awesome, or?
It's a very interesting question. I do think college atmospheres are really awesome. I think at all different levels, at a level like this, and I think at a level of where I work, which is in a different league at a different time, I think college is such a unique atmosphere because it's a unique type of people. It's people are all around kind of the same age that are all young. These are the time of their life where they're the most motivated, whether they're an athlete, whether they're a student, whether they're in production, whether they're in sports communication, media, on air, wherever it is. Everybody's kind of really hungry and very excited and jittery. And I kind of love working in that because people get so excited all the time and are so happy. It's so interesting. There's new people in and out all the time. It doesn't really get stale. No matter how long I go on this job, there's always going to be a new roster every year. And there's always going to be a new group of people coming in there that I'm going to tell their story, whether it's a new soccer player, football player. We had the Penn football coach. It was his 50th win this past Saturday. And, we set up a whole part at the end of our broadcast to make sure he was highlighted there. We had graphics, we had everything. And so I think, there's a lot of unique stories you can tell. And that's what I really like about the college atmosphere. I pride myself on being a storyteller. That's why I love doing what I do. I love telling really cool and exciting stories. And I think sports is the most exciting in that. And I think that college sports specifically is really unique and has a lot of different diversity in it, which I love working in.
We know it's not a Power 5, but it is one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and you work there.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's really crazy. It is cool. And there's a lot of history there. And don't know why they trusted me with it, but they did. And I have a great group of people there, and I work with a lot of great people, and I'm very grateful, to have people who really care and who are willing to roll through the punches with me. I'm starting a completely new world here at Penn, where we are updating and upgrading all of the different equipment, the workflows, the way we go about things. The setups for every broadcast that have been the same for years are being completely changed now. And so this is this transition year where I had to walk in there and I think college is really accepting and excited about this, but I say, things are going to change and we're going to fail a lot this first year. I was like, because I have to bring all the new equipment in and test it while still broadcasting all these live games. And there's going to be issues. And it's not about the issues, it's about how you respond from the issues. And college is a really great atmosphere to kind of nurture that. You know, I put in a brand new audio system at the football field for this weekend's game, and it was tested and it worked beforehand, and we ran into an issue on the day. And you're never going to know until you do it. You know, I don't, when I came into this, I didn't have the fear of that. You know, I told my bosses and everything, and I was like, I'm not going to play it safe. I was like, I'm not here to play it safe. And so I'm here to try new things, and if it doesn't work, you pick yourself back up and you try it again the next day. And it really beats you down. There's sometimes it beats you down, but, you know, it's a heavy workload, but you have to be really dedicated, because the most dedicated people work at colleges. I can tell you that right now, because it's weird hours and it's a lot of work over and over and over again. We have a really tight group of people, whether it's in the operations department, whether it's in my department, whether it's in communications, that, you know, work really hard to just try to tell the stories of these athletes. And, you know, all in all, it always ends up being a really great product. So.
All right.
How do you try to tell the story of the venues that you have, especially with the Palestra and Franklin Field? Like, those are some pretty big deal venues. So how do you kind of highlight that in your broadcast?
We always do it with the. I always take a lot of time to try to find good opening shots. You know, when we go into a broadcast, when we pre-prep, our crew calls 2 hours before. We spend that time with my replay operator and my camera operators working to find exciting shots at these venues. The Palestra specifically, there's a lot of great history with records and awards and banners, and you know, a lot of. If you've ever been in there, there's tons of history just flooding the walls. And so, you know, a picture says, you know, tells 1,000 words. So we take the time to, you know, have camera shots of everything inside that stadium, whether it's sports specific, whether it's, you know, hey, an older sign of the Palestra that shows the history, whether it's, you know, hey, we're doing, you know, volleyball, we're broadcasting a volleyball game, and, you know, they won in this specific year. Here's the banner and everything. Here's the anniversary of this year. Let's highlight that. So it's just finding different, unique ways to tell stories. And there's so many sports, and we recycle so many times. It's so easy to fall into doing the same old every single time, you know. Like, all in all, this year I'll have put on about, I believe it's going to be 142 productions by the end of the spring. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you have to tell a unique story each there. So thank you. And I think how I do it is I just look in there and I think, what hasn't been told before? What's something cool that I can tell? And I'm very lucky to have a good group of people that feed me a lot of that great information, you know, to put on, you know, a product that people can really be excited about.
All right. You had a question right there, in behind you. Yep, in the glasses.
So how often does NFL Films hire interns each year? Because, you know, I'm a big football guy. I'm a big football fan, huge Jets fan. So how often do they hire for interns?
I know that I had been in there in a summer class, but I believe they do winter, spring. They do winter. It might be fall or winter.
All three.
Winter, spring, and summer. So, you know, those applications always open up a couple months before. If you follow NFL Films on LinkedIn, it's all over there. They will always post on there. I still follow them, so I still see the post every time they go up in there. And so I think it's, you know, it's those opportunities. Keep yourself connected professionally. LinkedIn's a great resource. You know, there's been people that I've connected with on there that I've never actually met in real life that have been very helpful to me, or, you know, that are always excited to lend a helping hand. So keeping up on that. I know that there's a great connection between Rowan and these areas, and so people come out and they spread the word of those opportunities. And I think it's just, you know, seeking it out yourself is really important. You know, if you want something, you got to go grab it. You got to go. No one's going to give it to you. So, like, you know, human beings are you know, we're built on, human beings are selfish in nature, you know, all the way back. I'm not going to go caveman, but all the way back in survival, people were selfish. So I think if you want something, you have to go out and do it. Nobody is going to, you know, spoon feed everything to you. I wanted that internship. I went out and got it. There was a lot of people that were shocked when I got that internship. And I was really excited to kind of break the standard of you had to be the #1 football stat head to get the internship. And so I think if you really want it and you're that dedicated, people really see the passion. So you just find those opportunities and you go after them and you go in it with as much complete honesty as possible and passion. And if you do it and you do it in the right way, the right people are going to notice, and you'll get an opportunity out of that for sure.
NFL Films is littered with Rowan graduates.
That's right.
Littered. OJ right here knows Jason Weber, he's senior producer, knows him very well.
Good guy. Jason.
So there are so many Rowan people. We had NFL Films night here at Pizza with the Pros about a year or so ago. I will say this, 5,000 applicants, up to 5,000 applicants in the summer for 20 to 22 internship positions all over the country. And we have, in many years, gotten 1 to 2 interns in that internship class with NFL Films. So it's very, very difficult, but I love hearing the story, Sean's story, because it shows that you do all the right things and they're going to recognize it. I think they identified you as a guy that, hey, all right, you know football, we'll teach him that.
Yeah.
And then they brought him along. And now he's at the University of Pennsylvania. So.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
It took you, I'm still learning like so much. I remember when I first started at the media group in LA, I emerged pretty quickly as an editor. I was mostly in post-production there. I did 2 main roles. It was post-production director, not post-production, geez, I'm thinking RTN. No, not post-production director. I was post-production manager where I did manage a team of editors who we would have the highlight tapes for all the shows and the cool music videos, and I would coordinate, exactly who would edit what, go down, contact all the producers and ask like, hey, what do you need? And we'll make sure you get everything you need. And I would also edit all the full live to tape programming for all of our shows. Take the full show, go down, put in our ad breaks, everything like that, package the whole show, put it out on air. So did all that. And I remember when I was there, they nabbed me to be an XO editor for specialty tapes because I knew Premiere very well. So I was able to do all the cool like effects and everything. And I remember one day, Daniel Jeremiah came in. He works at the network. Great guy, by the way, super great human being. And but loves the Padres, which is disappointing. And which he's like really on about it, and it's like, ugh. And we used to fight about them all the time. But he would come in. I remember just like one day he's in there, and he's just like, I'm like, all right, so like DJ, what do you want? And he was like, well, so if you look over there at the blitz, and then you look at the zone, these 2 zones over here, and then he's gonna do a spin route. And I was like, I don't know what any of this means, man. I was like, you got to explain it to me like I'm 5. And so I was still learning at that point. And so I think. There's always the openness to learn, and if you're just willing to not be afraid to learn and fail and do all of that, I think it's gonna really benefit you, because people in the end, reliability over everything is a thing that I've held really close. There's always going to be an expert around there. There's always going to be an expert at what you want to do, because there's 7 billion people on this earth. There's a good chance there's someone like technically expert wise going to be above you. But the thing about it is the passion comes, you can oversee that with passion. You can oversee that with dedication and reliability. I will take someone who maybe doesn't know the X's and O's very well as a part of my crew specifically. I would take someone who's going to be there, who's going to be reliable, who's going to be on it, who's going to be willing to, who's going to make a mistake, who's going to fix it, never going to make it again. I would take that person over the best camera operator in the world every day of the week, because they're reliable. They show up on time. I don't care if you come in late, you don't have a good attitude, you're not willing to adapt and overcome, and you're just running around because you know how to operate a camera better than anybody else. I don't like that. I like someone who's reliable, and Rowan taught me that. We were down and dirty with RTN. We were just doing productions every single week, and it really built up. That's why I think Rowan's really built different, because we're not this, Rowan's not known as a media school. It's not known as a sports, but yet we're hoping Neil's going to get us there. But I think, and that's one of the things I loved when I was here too. It wasn't known as this, it wasn't it wasn't a temple. It wasn't, those schools that are just so well known for that. And I think that's what I liked about it, because it made the students, it made us hungrier. We wanted to do more. We wanted to prove that we were good at what we did. And if on paper, it doesn't look like the flashy school, but if you look at the success rate of students from this university, everybody should be coming to this school, because there's a ton of people out there, and all local and national and international, that are just doing really amazing things. And yeah, I just think you got to be as dedicated as you can. You got to be as reliable as you can, and the right people are gonna know that, and they're gonna see that.
Okay. Who's next? Go ahead, Matt.
What's your mental checklist when you're going in to direct a game?
That's a good one. Don't cry. No, that's not it.
Question was a mental checklist
It is,
for directing.
A mental checklist for directing. I think what it is thinking of yourself as the viewer. That's what I tell myself every time I direct a game. What do I want to see if I'm watching it? Because guess what? You can't be tunneled when you're a director. You can't just be like, oh, this is what I want. It's kind of about, it is what you want, but you're crafting the story that the viewer's going to see. So I might love a camera shot, but it's not the story that I'm willing to tell, or it's not the story that needs to be told. So I go, somewhere else. I think it's, as a director, I think it's thinking of yourself as the viewer. I think it's being able to adapt. I think it's able to be calm and cool under pressure. It's not being able to sit on being able to move on really quickly from a mistake. Because here's the thing, and it's kind of why I love live production so much, is there's always going to be another moment. There's always going to be another second. You're gonna finish it. You're gonna pick up after. You're gonna do it again. And I think you're running the entire ship as a director. And there's times where I don't do that good of a job at staying calm, cool, and collected. But once you're at the helm, you have to, because everybody else is looking to you. So when you're in that position and you're directing anything, everybody on that crew is looking for you. So every time I go into a production, I think of, what does the viewer want to see? How do I make this, show as clean as possible? And how do I tell a story that people are going to think about even after they watch it? And I just think about those things, and, it usually turns out to be a pretty good broadcast.
Very good. Go ahead, Christina.
What's the most amount of games that you've had to manage in one day?
Yeah, that's rough.
Most amount of games.
Most amount of games in France one day. You'll probably be there for one of them. It was definitely in the spring. It was my third week on the job. We had 4 games in one day. They all started within 4 hours of each other. 2 of them started at the exact same time. So that's when you just have to become more of a producer. I actually didn't live direct a single game that day. I just had to be there managing everybody's production. So we had, I hired 2 freelance directors that day, and it's just taking one step at a time. I was mobile on my feet for, 13 hours that day. It was the start, the setup, okay, this one needs this. I got to run down to this stadium. Then I got to run over to the baseball stadium. Then I got to go back to the football field. Then I got to go over to the to the softball field again, because they need this cable, they need this cord. And it's one person managing, 4 crews of all 10, about 40 people on that day. Everybody has needs. Everybody has pieces of equipment. All of them are coming in there. They don't work here full time. They don't know where everything is. So you have to it's all about prioritization and, being able to, look at the most important thing and go one at a time. Because you can't think about the next thing because it hasn't happened yet. So you focus on what you do and you go there. But 4 in one day was in March. It was tough. But, when it comes to that, there's different mindsets for each thing that I do. So if I have a sport where it's just one day, it's one sport one day, I think, all right, hey, I can produce this more. Hey, I can tell more of a story here. Hey, let's think about a couple extra cool storylines and graphics that we could cook up for the broadcast. When I'm doing 4 sports in one day, your mindset has to shift to hit the basics. You have 4 going up in one day. 1, we got to make sure they're all on air. Then, okay, hey, are they all good? Okay, then we're going to figure out, the best ways we can enhance each production. Go into a week like that, I usually tell Andrew, I say, hey, we do the minimum. We need to tell a great story for each of these broadcasts. We're not just doing one. We can't overproduce one, because if you overproduce one's going to fail. And so, you want 4 great, you would rather want 4 good productions instead of 1 great production and 3 bad productions. So I think it's all about, on days that are hectic as that, I think it's kind of just knowing your priorities. And I think knowing, sit down, take a deep breath and think, what is right in front of me? And then you just take one thing at a time. And before you know it, they're all up on the air and going. So Yeah, 4 in one day. That was pretty hectic. Don't like those days. Kind of ran into that on Saturday. That was a 3 in one day. So.
By the way, when you're mentioning those, baseball's way over here.
Oh yeah, if you're ever in the pen, it's not set up well. It's old. It's bad. Baseball is like in a completely other solar system. Over there, you have to get to the baseball stadium, to get to the soccer field, to get to the field hockey field. You have to go on the highway. Go on 76, get an off and off ramp, go around, go into another back alley, then go up into another alley till you get to the fields. And so running around, yeah, you get a lot of steps in.
Yeah.
So you're just, each day they could be, half a mile away from each other, and I got to run up and I got to run back. Sometimes I get lucky and I got a golf cart, but you just gotta do it because it's got to get up on the air, and you start from the basics and then you build from there.
You had a question. Yeah.
So how did you get the confidence that you could manage a team? Because did that start in LA or like?
Oh, it started here.
Confidence when you could manage a team.
It started here. It started in RTN once when I became the president, and I had to manage all of the club members. I had to run all the meetings. I had to handle all the finances. But that was crazy, by the way. I can't believe they let me do that. Holy crap. I was 20 years old. That was okay. But they were like, hey, you want to go buy a TriCaster? You should do it. And I was like, okay. I'll call the guy. Like, we were on the support line with the tech all the time, but I think it was there. I think it was the school that gave me really the opportunity to do it, to take a leadership role. I think it was, I was just like everybody. I came in here, I didn't know what I wanted. Like, I kind of wanted to be a video editor, but I was scared when I first came in here as a freshman in 2016. I remember, like, it was rough. And then, I think, you meet people who trusted me, which I really, really took, gratefully. And they put me in leadership positions. And then once you're in leadership positions, you just continue to grow. And I think it was great to do in a college atmosphere because you were able to fail, and like you were all students and you were all doing it together. So, when you have good people around you that aren't judging you and aren't, just putting you down every single time, you kind of gain that. And I think Rowan gave me the opportunity to be 3 leadership positions because I was the post-production director my sophomore year, and I handled all of the editing. And, I was managing senior editors, as a sophomore, and then I was president managing everybody. And then, as a senior, I was managing all the sports production. So I think it was there, that allowed me to kind of be a leader and kind of take charge. And then that just kind of blossomed into everything in LA. And then, the ultimate test is now at Penn, where I'm really managing a team, and everything is really running through me. So, yeah, definitely here.
All right. SoFi Stadium. We haven't talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
So your office is out there right next to SoFi.
Yeah, we were right next to SoFi, yeah.
So what is that whole facility like for those that have seen it only on television?
Big.
Yeah, what is it like?
It's big. It's real big. It's real flashy, it's called Hollywood Park. So it's a really cool area. It's just a hub. It's there's so much buzzing in and around there. More just on entertainment too. I mean, that's not just a sports venue. We were front row for concerts and music festivals and the whole thing. And it was an awe-inspiring. YouTube theater is amazing there. It was like an awe-inspiring experience. It was to work there every day was really amazing. It was a brand new facility they had built in LA. They had moved down to Inglewood when I had moved out there. Before that, they were in Culver City, California. Had a way smaller office that was very similar looking to Bosworth. Like it was low, and it was spread out. It was in the middle, and then they built up this huge. They really took a dedication to it and built this $2 billion gigantic building to put the NFL, all their professional studios in it. Everything was brand new. Everything was really amazing. It was kind of everything you wanted it to be. I mean, the NFL's decked out there to the nine, wall hangings, custom art from around the world, the best of the best in there. I was really grateful. I think I really loved the area and everything. It was cool, and Hollywood Park was done up with palm trees and beautiful lakes and the walkability and the place to go. And but it was really the people there. They were some of the best. They're some of the best in the business. They're the people that care, and they're just as down to earth as you'd want them to be. And that was, I think, the coolest part. Was the people were so hungry and they cared, and and the combination of that, and then be able to go to SoFi, which was cool. SoFi makes the Link look like a little league park. It's insane there. It's massive. It's everything from the lower to the upper. It's not even what's on the field. It's what's inside. Like the way they have that built up. It's an entire universe in there. It's really cool. They don't call it a jumbotron, but I call it the headband. Because I think that's what it looks like. But they have the giant screen, which is really cool and really interactive. A lot of good moments at SoFi Stadium. I've got to see a lot of teams there. I got to see my team there win against the Rams last year. That was cool. And so it was just SoFi is a really amazing experience if you're ever out in Los Angeles. I highly recommend you take a look at it.
All right, next question, right here.
Speaking of the experience of SoFi Stadium, when the Super Bowl was there a couple years ago,
Yeah.
like what was your involvement with that?
I worked there. Was my first year. That was my second year, my second season. So that was a really cool experience to see the Super Bowl go there. I didn't work directly in the stadium that night. I actually worked in my office. I was producing a post-game show that night. So they were so spread out, people working at that event, that I actually got to produce a whole show, which was insane. But it was just, we were in the basement prepping for the show, watching the Super Bowl live. I was able to be out there during the day, which was really cool as they prepped beforehand. Watching, you got to see the players go in. You got to see the fanfare. It was done up. The entire area was decked out to the nine in Bengals and Rams. And even though I was in the basement producing the show, you could hear it. That was the coolest part. You could hear the ground rumble underneath you. You could hear the screaming fans all over the place. You could hear that place like completely blasting, decked out to the nine and everything. It was one of the coolest experiences that I've been a part of. But yeah, was definitely there, and it was a really memorable end of that Super Bowl too. So just a really awesome experience.
Go ahead, Alan. You had a question.
Yeah, so being at the Super Bowl, what was it like to see, like obviously it was the home of the Rams, but would you say that the crowd was leaning one way or another? Was it mostly Rams fans, or were there a lot of Bengal fans there too?
It was pretty half and half. Super Bowl is usually half and half, because that's the one, like the people that are going to a Super Bowl game, like they care about the team. That is not a cheap ticket. I can tell you that right now. So they do bring in a lot of fans, and those are two really passionate fan bases. That was a really cool year, because the Bengals fans hadn't had it in forever, barely ever, and so their fans were so hungry. They were there, and that was cool. And then then the Rams fans were there too. I think it was a pretty good 50-50 split, and the Rams care a lot about their team too, which is they're annoying. The Rams fans are the worst, actually. I'm sorry, they're in like my bottom tier. I've been to so many Rams games where they're just so annoying. But fans are both the worst and best part of sports, because it is it's fans like that make me want to work in this, because people are so passionate about sports, are so passionate about this team or these teams and these people that they've never met. And and I'm the same way. Like I'm the same way about my teams and everything like that. And I care, and I get angry, and I will argue with people for hours on end about stats and about what we should do and what this team should do and what that person should do. And then that day, yeah, it was a 50-50 split. And for it to be in the new stadium, and the first time since he's making it there, like that energy was crazy. I wish they won that game. Because I think they deserved it. I thought they were the better team, but it was a storybook ending anyways. So I'll never forget the final play with the ring touch and Aaron Donald and the whole thing. So
Another question.
It was really good.
So I got thought, like, is it true that LA is like 50-50? Because I was like, I feel like there's a lot of TikToks I see like LA is like, oh, it's like there's not a lot of Rams fans. Like, is it true that like other teams fans like take over?
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, that's not a lie. That's a complete 100% truth. Chargers fans don't exist. So every Chargers game is a home game for the away team for sure. Because they're the team that didn't get there. I mean, the Rams really weren't there that long. I'll be honest with you, as personally, LA is not a football town. I really don't think football teams should be there. LA is a baseball town for sure. Dodger fans are insane. It's a basketball town and it's a football town, and baseball town, and that's it. But Rams fans are you'll go to the Rams games, you see the Rams, but if you go to a Chargers game, you will see the other team out there in full force, for sure. So those rumors, yeah, they're true. They're reality.
All right, in the back.
You said you had an opportunity, well, not really, well, the opportunity to work with WWE.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It actually came about. Neil was very helpful in that. Neil and I were pretty close when I was here. When Neil first got hired, I was here as a student, and we had a really close relationship, which I was very grateful for. I actually remember I was on the student hiring committee for your position, and they brought a bunch of us, each representatives of the College of Communications and Creative Arts, and I was the representative from the RTF side. And we went in there, and we had all these candidates, and we ended up going with Neil, which was 100% the best choice. They made it seem like we had the word on that, but we definitely didn't have the final say on that. They just brought us into it. But we felt, as students, we thought that was super cool. We felt like we had power. But no, Neil and I were pretty close there, and I'm very grateful for that. And he was, from the get, he was always amazing with opportunities. And we had been talking, and, as that senior year was going on, we were talking about opportunities for me, and he had a contact over there at the WWE. And I had a phone call with one of the directors of Monday Night Raw, and he had said, "Hey, like, we always open up in the summer, and Neil says good things about you, so when you're obviously just going to get a position in the summer." And that was it. And that was one of those times where it made me realize just how much reliability matters and how much the connections you make matter in this specific field, the people you meet. People are going to choose reliability over everything. They're always going to sit there and say, "Hey, if you trust this person, I trust this person because I trust you." And so that kind of came about in that front. Didn't end up working out because by the time that everything had settled down and they started reopening, I had already had my job at NFL, and I was very happy. It was for a road PA. I was going to be a road production assistant. I still think about if that actually happened. I'm a big fan of the WWE. I thought it would have been so cool to travel. I would have loved it. I love the energy, the passion about that. Like, the fans and everything, the commentators. I just love all that. So it was a really cool thing. But hey, sometimes like things just work out the way they work out. I wouldn't be here today if it's a sad thing to say, but if COVID didn't happen, I would not have been here today. Would I have wanted COVID to happen? Not at all. If I could have avoided COVID, I would have been a grocery store clerk for my entire life. Don't worry. But things happen the way they happen, and I'm just really grateful for every opportunity.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you would have been just fine.
Yeah.
You really stood out as a student, and
thanks.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
you'd be a grocery clerk unless you wanted to. That's your decision.
If I could have stopped COVID, my whole life sentence was to be a grocery store clerk, I would have done it. I would have done it to save those 3 years.
There you go.
That was it.
Sacrifice.
I would have sacrificed for the greater good. But yes, no, I would have been fine. I would have had a job.
Let's end on this note. There's obviously students here that have a lot of production interests. Not everyone is as personable as Julian, where he walks into your office and somehow you decided to hire the guy.
I did. I don't know. Every day I'm just like, maybe we should just.
Before you got there.
Maybe we should just.
There you go. He was there.
That's
Jersky brought him in, I guess.
Jersky did bring him in. Yes.
Yeah, Tiana did. Okay.
Tiana.
But a lot of them want to get involved, whether it's a broadcast or production, and you handle all that.
Yeah.
So give them a sense of what you're looking for, how they could go about it. What are some of the options? We have students here, freshmen all the way to seniors.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I think a way to do it is just kind of, obviously, you can always email. My email is always the number one form of communication that I use for things. We have a set, we have a set of freelancers. We have a pool of freelancers that come in based on availability. So if you're interested in anything, it's just reach out with your interest specifically. Come talk to me after this. You can send, I'd be happy to give out my email. I'll be happy, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, that's perfectly fine at all. People drop out all the time. People come in and out all the time. We have a good set of people that we use, but a lot of the times people can't make it to here, and hey, we have an opening for a camera operator this day, or we have an opening for a graphics operator this day. And, it's just kind of waiting for those opportunities to pop up. I can't sit here and guarantee every single one of, you production roles on different broadcasts. I wish I could, but it's not like Rowan, so it's not like everybody gets everybody gets all the chances now. It's a professional environment, but we are always looking for people, and people, when I was here at Rowan, people gave me those opportunities. And so I think it's my job to give opportunities back to the place that kind of taught me everything, and that was Rowan. You know, Rowan, I could have been a fine video editor anywhere else, but I never would have been the jack of all trades guy that I am now if it wasn't for Rowan, because I learned everything, every aspect of production, every tech thing, all over the place because of this. So I always feel like I want to give back as much as possible. So if you're really hungry and you're really interested in wanting to do it, and you're really patient to jump in here and there, you know, we have everything from camera operators to graphics, replay operators, that we use the same equipment that they use here. You know, the same TriCasters, 3-play replay systems, live book graphics. We use all that. So we have everything from that. And on big days, we have a TOC, which is a break coordinator for someone who stands out on the field and communicates with the refs on how to, you know, when I go to break, and they tell them, and so they are stop the game until we come back. So there's a lot of different opportunities. And so if you're interested in everything, you know, please feel free, come up, talk to me, and hopefully down the line there's a chance we can get you involved.
So now our Delaware Bluecoats, we will announce that next Monday night here at Pizza with the Pros. We will announce that next Monday. Every position you just talked about, from timeout coordinator beyond, we have 22 students that are in production alone for the Delaware Bluecoats, 45 interns overall that we'll be awarding next week.
Yeah.
But those students get that experience. So when they show up, like Julian or Matt or Carrie or any of the other ones, Christina, who have worked with the Bluecoats and now go work with you, they have that experience. And, you know, so, and you know that.
Yeah.
You know that when they come, they already have that experience. So it's really valuable for you to get that experience here. It'll help you, and then you expand your experiences with working at Penn or Princeton, where we have Cody Kershell, who's also very involved, a Rowan grad. So we're slowly getting ourselves out there. It's working out pretty well, but it was great to have you back here on campus. Let me just everyone give a round of applause for So Sean has been kind enough to say that he'll stay here afterwards and talk with you. But also next week, we're going to have this person right here, Jim Jackson.
Oh, is it Jazz?
So JJ will be here next week, broadcaster, play-by-play for many years. He started with the Flyers in 1993. How many hockey fans do we have here? Okay. How many Flyer fans do we have here? Okay, so he will be here next week to talk about play-by-play. He also did the Phillies for a period of time on radio. So Jim Jackson will be here. It'll be 6 o'clock next Monday, and then we will also announce the Bluecoats internships, all the interns next week. All right, Sean, thank you. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.